Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Yeah, right. That's one of the biggest crocs I've ever heard, and probably one of the biggest you have ever heard. We know that words can be just as destructive as actions, sometimes, if not even more so. Psalm 64 gives the voice of the Messiah to come as he faced those who opposed him with their words, words that led to actions in which they took violent attacks against the Messiah. That is Jesus Christ, the King. We can see here that David speaks for his people. He says, I voice my complaint. We can see that he asks God to hide him. And yet, from the previous Psalms that we've looked at, we know that David is speaking in behalf of his people, so that what he speaks, his people speak. And if not specifically speak, they feel and they endure and they experience. So David represents his people in this respect. Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, the Messiah that did come, to which the psalm points, spoke in behalf of his people. He intercedes now in behalf of his people, the God the Father. So as Jesus spoke, as Jesus voiced such an attitude, such hope, such confidence in him, those who place their faith now can live in this confidence. So even as David expresses this prayer in Psalm 64, it teaches us who follow Christ that we can ask for God's guidance and protection when those who speak violently against us, violently with the intent to attack physically, religiously, or otherwise. Nevertheless, we know that words can hurt. David points this out. They sharpen their tongues like swords, he says. They aim cruel words like deadly arrows. They shoot, he says twice, emphasizing the suddenness of their words and how quickly destructive they can be. They encourage each other. So their words speak to each other, even as they speak against David's people. Even his words today speak against Jesus Christ's people, his followers. So I can go on and point out how truly these words speak. These words point out how words can be destructive, how it is not only sticks and stones that can break bones, but words themselves can break bones by leading to such actions. And whether or not we can apply this psalm literally, physically, or in other ways in which our bones would actually be broken. Nevertheless, our spirits can be broken with such attacks. David comes back to the reality that God will indeed respond in behalf of his people. He will come against those who have opposed him with words and actions that take aggression against his people. The righteous will rejoice in the Lord. David assures himself. Those of us who have placed our faith in Jesus Christ, we can take such confidence also. And so this psalm shows us how, when we are attacked, that is, those who have placed our faith in Jesus Christ with words that take aggression against us, we can seek God's protection. We can seek his perspective. We should trust in God's vengeance that he will respond in his way. And most of all, that we can indeed live in God's victory. Do you see how the end of Psalm 63 finds its expression also at the end of Psalm 64? The king will rejoice, David says at the end of Psalm 63. And look how the fate of the king is the fate of his people, as expressed at the end here of Psalm 64. The righteous will rejoice and take refuge in him. Why? Because it is the king himself, Jesus Christ, that has rejoiced, that will rejoice, and those who are in him will be able to also rejoice.